When the doors open to the launch of another eagerly awaited book by Damian Hughes, it's always a special event. Damian's new book is called 5 Steps to a Winning Mindset, and we caught up with him at the launch presentation and signing at Waterstones, Manchester.
Okay, so what's the 5 Steps to a Winning Mindset book all about? Well, the last 3 years I've spent working with and studying some of the world's top coaches and looking at how do they do what they do and how can the reader take those same ideas and use them in their own life, their own business, their own career. When I first did it, I sat down with one coach from a basketball environment actually, and to interview him around what did he do. And he gave me a really interesting exercise. He said to me, a blank piece of paper, and he said, would you do me a favour and draw a coffee mug for me? So I thought it was a bit unusual, but I ended up drawing something that was not dissimilar to that as an interpretation, right? Now hold on to that thought, because what I'll show you is over the next 3 years how that coffee mug came to be quite representative of just what quite elite coaches do tend to do. The best coaches in the world use some very similar techniques, or what we're going to call the steps. The acronym is the steps. So the first thing they're brilliant at doing is simplifying things. In a complex world, a world of noise, great coaches have the ability just to simplify their message. Jürgen Grobler, the British rowing coach, for example, he used to challenge everybody who joined the British rowing team as, will what you're doing make the boat go faster? Alex Ferguson used to talk about Manchester United never get beat. We occasionally run out of time, but we never get beat. Now, I remember years ago hearing Jimmy Murphy, the old Manchester United assistant, tell a great story about what he defined the difference between good and great coaches was. He did it with a simple exercise. He got a tennis ball and threw it to somebody. He said, can you catch that for me? Caught it, threw it back. He said, how do you find it? It's easy, it's not too bad at all. He said, how will you get on if I throw 2 tennis balls at you? So well, it'll take a bit more concentration, but chances are you'll catch them. He said, good. How will you get on if I throw 3 or 4 or 5? Now the answer is, once you get to 5 tennis balls, you're dropping them all because you don't know where to focus. And he said, that's the difference between good and great coaches. They understand that it's not how many balls you can throw, how good you look throwing 5 tennis balls. It's understanding intuitively, how many balls can the other person catch? The T bit of it is great coaches have the ability to get you to do the thinking yourself. So what we know, we've seen this in education, if you just spoon feed children and give them all the information they need, when they come under pressure they'll retain about 5% of the information. When you get people to think for themselves, you give yourself a fighting chance of accessing about 75% of the information. So what great coaches such as Jose Mourinho, for example, can do is they use techniques called guided discovery, which is where they pose questions and force you to come up with the answers yourself. I've worked with some sports teams where we just paint a white line between the training ground and the training pitch. Because the answer that you want is, once you cross that white line, you want people to think about what they're doing. You want them to switch on and be getting ready. Now they're going to make that walk along anyway, so the white line just simply acts as a tripwire that forces them to stop and think about what they're doing. The E part of the equation is emotional intelligence. What we know is that your emotional brain is 5 times stronger than your thinking rational brain. So what we need to understand is, how do we contain the emotional brain to make it almost get out of the way or get the good stuff from it to allow our thinking brain to take over. Put your hand up when you spot the right answer to this question. I'll put you out of your misery. There's 2 U's in the sentence above. Your emotional brain is 5 times stronger and it's attracted to bright, shiny objects, which is why you were looking at the numbers at the bottom. The P part of the acronym is practicality. What great coaches do is they never speak in jargon, because the difference between an expert and a novice is the ability to speak in abstract terms. Your brain doesn't do jargon, right? So when you hear people talking about synergies or silos or strategies or visions, it's bollocks, right? Your brain doesn't get it. Your brain just doesn't operate on that level. It doesn't understand it. The final part of the acronym is storytelling. And that's that we know that our brains are more open to ideas, we can take on more information if it's presented to us in the form of a story. So you'll find that almost one of the traits that all great coaches have is the ability to tell a really compelling story. So even though I'm speaking about sport, the lessons that we apply in this book are not exclusively related to sport. They can be adopted by anybody in almost any sector, education, business, or even our own personal lives. Which brings us back to the coffee cup. That's how you see it most frequently. Would you agree? You see it from a different angle. And what the last 3 years has been for me is just looking at the world from a slightly different angle and seeing that we can all use these in any way we want.
Damian Hughes' 5 Steps to a Winning Mindset is out now.
I always learn something when I listen to Damian.
I think Damian's just fantastic at breaking things down to a really simple level that anybody can understand.
I feel I've learned a great deal in an hour already, before even opening the book.
I think it's highlighting how to work with people and make people think in a more effective way.
It was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. Looking forward to reading the book.
I'm looking forward to the read.
Which makes you think in a different way.